Tonight, Russia is pushing Ukrainian forces back from the center of Sievierodonetsk, a strategic city in the eastern part of the country. It's the battle here where Ukraine's president says the fate of Donbas in eastern Ukraine is being decided. But it seems more of a case of when, not if, this devastated region will fall into Russian hands. From the Black Sea, Russia's naval bombardment continues. These 4 cruise missiles fired at warehouse of anti-tank weapons supplied by the United States and its allies. That's according to the Russian military. Retired Air Force Special Operations Commander Major Glenn Ignacio joins us now. And Major, is that how you see it? A matter of when, not if?
Unfortunately, yes. Right now, from the direct reports from the field, we're seeing that the Russians have about 70% plus of Sievierodonetsk already, and we believe that that's going to fall. Unfortunately, they've really fought pretty hard, and we're seeing a change with the dynamics where we're seeing more battle-hardened and trained soldiers than we did before in the Russian activity. So we're seeing more experience, more focused, and more intensity in those areas. So unfortunately, it's just when.
And Ukrainians are worried. It appears the West is going to stop paying attention to the war because of the lack of media attention. Is that how you see it? And what could the potential implications of that be?
Well, I think it's one of those things that, unfortunately, just the United States in general, we always seem to be a little short-viewed on our particular times, and we're past 100 days here. So it's become a recurring story, but it may be recurring to us, but every day there's more violence, there's more attacks, there's more atrocities that are happening across the country there. One of the things that I think is of interest that the Ukrainians need to focus on, and there's a little bit of unaware of what's happening, say, from here in the United States, is, Zelensky has to do a little housekeeping himself. There's a lot of support going in and a lot of weapons and so forth, and there's a lot of calls for aid of other foreign fighters to go in and help. One of the things that I saw there, and it disturbed a lot of us, and I have to say it, I completely support the Ukrainians, but there's a lot of military-aged males that are sitting on the border, especially in Lviv and other areas, Odessa, Kyiv. And when Zelensky closed the borders for them not to be able to leave, that's true, but they haven't been drafted. They have been utilized, and there's thousands of troops that Zelensky, or thousands of citizens Zelensky could use in his military and beat them up, because we are seeing a hit to their morale on the east.
And Major, we've been following your efforts to get refugees out of Ukraine. We know you were recently overseas. What did you see on the ground?
Yeah, exactly. The areas north of Kyiv into Bucha and Irpin are completely destroyed. The worst part for me, being career military, is these were not military targets. These were just purely civilian targets of their homes, their apartments. It's indiscriminate killing, is from what I saw. Down in Odessa area, we put together the best program we can, my team and myself, to try to get as many people out of Odessa and the Mykolaiv area ahead of the time, so we don't have another Mariupol like we unfortunately saw. And in that time, we've also pushed further to the east to get people out of more hostile areas. And in the first 48 hours, we moved over 8,000 people. So again, myself and the others that are American veterans are making a big impact, because we spend our time in combat rescue and special operations. This is what we do. And that's the kind of things that we're really trying to help the Ukrainians do. And a lot of people are helping each other out there greatly.
Do you believe the Americans are doing enough, or what more assistance would help the most in your estimation?
I think for what we're doing, yes, we are doing enough. In fact, we're doing a significant amount, with now coming up to $54 billion that has been allocated to Ukraine. So a lot of the heavy weaponry and so forth is getting to the troops and is being utilized. At the same time, we have to watch our own stores, because a lot of the weapons are not being manufactured currently, like our Stingers and our Javelins, because we're not in that type of conflict. They're being sent over. So we got to make sure we don't sacrifice ourselves. The other thing that I mentioned before is that we do have a lot of foreigners that are visiting Ukraine to help out and provide a humanitarian effort. That is absolutely critical. The part that disturbs me, again, I have to be completely, transparent, is we spent 50,000 pieces of body armor, vests, helmets, and so forth to Ukraine alone. Every day I was there, 24/7, everybody asked me, military, police, civilian, can you get me more of that body armor? Unfortunately, it made itself to the black market, where just a couple of weeks ago, a military police individual bought their own, and they paid for it rather expensively, and it turned out to be the equipment that was donated by the United States. That should have been provided for free. Again, these are things that there has to be some internal housekeeping done, and those are the things that really concern me. The smaller it is, the easier it could be stolen than used in the black market like we see. The bigger weapon systems are getting forward as best as possible.
And our team found something really interesting about what you did see on the ground, just in terms of how centralized some of the hardship is for people across, overseas. You're talking about the Red Cross food lines versus back to normal, so to speak, in Kyiv. Do you mind discussing that a little bit further? Just how about centralized some of these areas that are hard hit are?
Sure, absolutely. And like I said, it's a hard conversation, but it has to happen. Like I said, I completely support the Ukrainians and everything that they're doing, and especially some significant people. If they're in a combat zone, they are doing incredible things. They are bending over backwards to help each other. However, if you're not, the far distances between, let's say, Lviv and the combat zones, it's almost like, well, we're not in a war. So it's not even visible to them. To give you an idea, and I think I sent you some video of this, is Bucha was completely slaughtered. This is where we saw bodies on the ground. We saw mass graves. You saw houses, apartment buildings blown apart. And as you see in the video right now, this is one of the food lines and a large line of people trying to get food and supported by the International Red Cross. 10 miles away, okay, 10 miles away in Kyiv, in the city, I was in a store that 3 times the size of a Whole Foods, fully stocked with food, vegetables, fresh food, frozen food, cold cuts. And that's the kind of stuff that's 10 miles away. Why isn't that getting to the people that are waiting in that food line? It makes no sense to me. And those are the things that are frustrating a lot of us that have actually gone over there and helped. Like I said, Zelensky needs to do some housekeeping. It's very critical so we get them what they need. And this is the store that I was talking about, 10 miles from that food line. Doesn't make sense to me.
Major Glenn Ignazio, we appreciate your insight as always. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time. You always supported all the operations we have.
We appreciate it.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.